All right, let's do something new. Let's talk about Marvel for a little bit. So over the weekend, I watched Deadpool and Wolverine and saw some of the big Comic-Con news, which I'm actually super invested in. First, we'll go over my spoiler-free thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine, and then we'll jump into some spoiler territory. I'll give you a fair warning. So overall, I think Deadpool and Wolverine it's about a B movie. There's some great fight scenes and segments, and it's an overall just fun popcorn action movie. It's more fun than anything else. The plot, in my opinion, isn't that great, but it's kind of serviceable enough to things moving from one point to another, although there are some sections that definitely made me raise an eyebrow, and I'll get more specific into them in the spoiler section. But while this movie does tie Deadpool into the MCU now, it actually feels like it ties way more into the Fox universe. Despite its pointed jokes at the Fox universe, it definitely gives the Fox universe its goodbye, farewell, and kind of honors that era, which I thought was pretty awesome overall. I wouldn't say you need to go back and watch all of the Fox movies. It just would be good to have a general idea, as sometimes there's going to be situations where there's going to be a lot of, who the heck is that guy, if you haven't watched any of them or aren't completely familiar with them. The only thing I would say you really need to watch before going into this is probably Logan. First, Logan is just a really good movie overall, so you should probably watch it anyways. There's actually a lot more references to Logan than I would argue even to Deadpool itself. Honestly, you could probably not watch the previous two Deadpool movies and go into this, in my opinion. But I watched this movie again. Yeah, absolutely. The fight scenes are cool. It's a fun movie. Again, plot's a little meh. Overall, I think it's just a good, fun time. You'd probably pick up on a lot of little things you might have missed the first time you watched it on a rewatch. And yeah, it's just fun in general. Plot's somewhat unforgettable, but I think the action, the fun, the dynamic between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's really good. I think Hugh Jackman definitely outacted a lot of other people in this movie, especially during certain monologue scenes or discussion points. You can just tell he's a much more skilled actor than some of the other cast members around him at times. But yeah, that was my quick and in a hurry spoiler-free section. So I'm gonna get into the spoilers now, and yeah, the spoilers are gonna come, so either go watch the movie and come back or get spoiled. Like, seriously, this first one's gonna be a big spoiler. Either go watch the movie and come back or get spoiled. I think if you watched X-Men 97, you're gonna be really excited to see Gambit show up in this movie. That was a really big surprise. He is a little bit of a joke character, but he does join the team along with Wesley Snipes as Blade and Jennifer Gardner as Elektra, which those were cameos I really would have never expected to see at all. I kind of expected that we would see X-23, and I was hearing rumors about Chris Evans showing up again. I kind of assumed Chris Evans would actually be playing the Human Torch, not Captain America, when I was hearing the rumors about him being in this movie. But it does set a big precedent that I think Marvel is trying to set with this movie, which again, we'll get into the Comic-Con news a little bit later on. While I enjoyed this movie a lot just for its pure fun and action-y nature, there are kind of three main things that bothered me a bit in this movie. So the first thing that I didn't really like was kind of near the end. I didn't like how the Deadpool army was essentially defeated, or that fight ended because of Peter. Thought that was a little bit of a letdown, and it was kind of silly, but not like in a good way silly, like in a bad way silly. Seems like they kind of did it that way just so they could make a dick joke, which, okay, fine, it's Deadpool. I get it. I do think, however, this is going to lead to, in the future, that we're going to get a big Deadpool's assemble moment akin to the Captain America Avengers assemble moment. I mean, he kind of has an army of Deadpools now that, with the help of Peter, he can guide to do stuff probably. So interesting little scenario setup. I'm going to call it that's probably going to happen at some point in Secret Wars. I think one thing that could have made it a little more fun and tricky, even though it really wouldn't make much sense at all, don't get me wrong, is that if you found out Loki was actually Peter the whole time. I think it could have been a little interesting, fun dynamic. Yeah, it wouldn't really make much sense since Loki is essentially the World Tree now. But yeah, I thought the whole thing with Peter being the reason that everyone stopped, it was cute, but I don't know. It felt a little bit of a letdown to me. The second thing I didn't really like was how the Deadpool squad with Wolverine, X-23, Blade, Gambit, and Elektra just sort of drove their Honda right into the base and started fighting right away. Seemed a little bit anticlimactic to me, which this is actually a pretty cool team, don't get me wrong. The idea of all these actors and the characters they're playing being on a team together in a movie really would have never been on any bingo card I would have had, so it was cool seeing them together. I don't know, I feel like there should have been a different way they got there, and the confrontation with Cassandra at that point also felt a little lame. They all got their little moments and their cool action scenes, but I don't know. It just felt a little lame that they just kind of drove right on into the base so effortlessly. Seemed a little weird. And the third thing is how they conveyed Wolverine's backstory. Maybe I missed something in a conversation or a dialogue. I don't like the idea that he just went out to get drunk and left, and then the humans came and killed all the X-Men. It's kind of dumb to me. There's even a whole storyline in Old Man Logan where Mysterio manipulates Wolverine's mind and Wolverine actually kills all the X-Men. I would have rather had them just bring that up. Maybe use a different villain. You don't need to use Mysterio. You could throw in Mr. Sinister, or maybe even a different version of Cassandra or something like that. The whole idea of him just leaving, kind of lame. I think if they did go with this, he was manipulated into killing him and then he remembered it, I would have added a much more heavier tone. And a main reason that he drinks so much is because he killed all the people he cared about. I think it just would have added a much darker tone to everything, which previous Deadpool movies did kind of lean into heavier tones, so I feel like it wouldn't have strayed the course too far. I can probably understand some reasons why they didn't want to go this way. I'm sure it had to have been discussed at some point. There's no way it wasn't. So just feels like a missed opportunity and would have really helped a little bit more of that redemption arc, I feel. But yeah, again, fun movie overall. Had a lot of great action scenes, a lot of silly moments, which was good. You'd expect that from Deadpool. It kind of lacked that emotional depth I feel that some of the other Deadpool movies had, even Logan had. There's a little bit more surface level with some of those elements. But yeah, like I said, it's a solid B-ish movie. I would watch it again. It's fun to watch. Definitely enjoyed it. If you like Deadpool and Wolverine, I definitely think you'd enjoy it. Plot's a little bit forgettable, kind of meh at times, but overall it's a good time. Not the greatest. It's not the height of cinema, you know, it's not gonna change your world perspective watching it, but that's not what fun action movies are for. They're made to entertain you, and this movie definitely did that in a fun way and had some cool scenes. Now for the other big news, at least to me, is Robert Downey Jr. being Dr. Doom now. And this is interesting. I'd like to note I am a little bit of a Doom fan. He's probably one of my not just favorite villains, but maybe favorite characters in Marvel overall. Really enjoy a lot of his stories, specifically like the Book of Doom. I think that's really cool and fun story. Yeah, I don't think people loving Dr. Doom is a super uncommon opinion. Also, I'm not overly sad about Kang going away. I honestly don't like Kang that much overall. A lot of different reasons for it. He has some fun, neat stories. He can be an interesting villain at times, but the main reason I don't like him is because Kang just means you're gonna have to be dealing with a lot of timeline and multiverse cliches, and when those get abused a little too much, it's just a little off-putting to me, and that kind of is where the MCU is a little bit at, so him going away doesn't really affect me or make me upset in any way. Now, it does feel weird that they've got Downey Jr. back. I can see why people think this is dumb and an act of desperation. Honestly, it probably is, but who cares if it is, in my opinion? A failed act of desperation always can seem pathetic, sad, and like loser behavior, but then when an act of desperation works, then it seems like a stroke of genius. So you just have to wait and see how it plays out. Is it sad and pathetic, or is it one of the best decisions they ever did? We'll have to wait and see. But as mentioned, I think them showing Chris Evans as the Human Torch in Deadpool and Wolverine definitely kind of sets a precedent that you can see actors who played other characters playing different ones now. Maybe it's not a good precedent, we'll see. And I think Robert Downey Jr. being Doom also creates a very interesting dynamic. The reason I think that is because if the Fantastic Four are coming from another universe, which they've said is going to happen, and they come into our universe and see that the biggest villain to them, Dr. Doom, is his face is plastered everywhere and he's considered a hero and he was the mightiest Avenger who saved everyone, I think they're going to become very skeptical of the Avengers at that point, which could create a good little dynamic there, but they don't trust them. And if people in our universe, especially people like, you know, Spider-Man, see the face of Dr. Doom, it's going to create a very like WTF moment of, wait a minute, you're back? You're our hero, you're our savior, and you're back? This is awesome. I could really see Dr. Doom just leaning in and pretending to be this Iron Man savior, coming back and using that to manipulate people. Like if Doom does this, that's really going to mess with Spider-Man's head, and he's probably going to wonder if the spell even affects him, and I could even see Doom leaning into it and being like, oh yeah, I remember who you are, and just really messing with Spider-Man. Is this a kind of one of those plot points that could be solved by someone putting a sticky note on the fridge? Sure, but they could play this right, I think, and this would be a big advantage to Doom coming into a universe and people thinking he's this great hero. Could cause a lot of confusion and trickery. There's even a comic story where Doom does become Iron Man for a little bit, and that would really just throw people into a loop, and Doom is one to use every advantage he has to win a situation, and this just seems like it would be a good advantage card for him to play and add a little deceitful and tricky element to the character that could be pretty interesting overall if it's played right. That's the big if, right? If it's played right. Yeah, the main thing I kind of hope here is that the MCU grounds itself a little bit, keep the multiverse stuff maybe dialed down a little bit. They obviously still need to use it. I kind of much preferred the old Marvel movies where they're a little bit more grounded, and the humor and the references and the cameos were kind of the cherry on top and nice to have. And it seems like the newer movies all seem to be focused around, well, let's make sure we have enough laughs, chuckles, and cameos and references, and the plot and the story and everything else overall is kind of now the nice to have afterwards. And it really was better when it was the other way around and not beating you over the head with silly dance numbers on Planet. But yeah, that's just some quick thoughts on Deadpool, Wolverine, and the Comic-Con news. I know I usually only talk about games and Final Fantasy. I just felt like doing a quick video on this. Thought it would be fun. If you like it, hit the buttons. Let me know. I can do more stuff like this. Let me know what you think. And as always, drive fast, take chances. Later, nerds.
It's me, Tug!
It's me, Tug.
That's right. Now, Tug who?
Tug who? I don't know. Who are you?
Me? I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
What?